The big, beautiful bill has been signed into law, and even though there's a whole bunch of stuff in it that I don't like, there's even more in it that I do. And what we see today, of course, is low-energy Hakeem Jeffries trying to explain to The View why he's so upset that the Democrats weren't able to stop it. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
It also includes, though, big cuts to healthcare programs such as Medicaid, cuts to SNAP benefits for the poor. My understanding is in New York, about 1 million people will be affected by this. Can you talk about the implications for healthcare and how it affects people who don't even use these programs?
Well, first of all, like in America, healthcare shouldn't simply be a privilege. It should be a right to every single American. And presidents throughout the years, whether that's, Roosevelt or Truman, President Johnson, President Clinton, President Obama, President Biden, have all worked to expand access to health care. Yeah. But what's so extraordinary about this bill is that more than 17 million people will lose health care as a result of the, cuts to Medicaid, the attack on Medicare, the attack on the Affordable Care Act, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and Planned Parenthood.
Because there's going to be true human loss here, right? People are going to really feel it.
Yeah, real pain and suffering. I mean, the attack on healthcare is not just going to result on millions of people losing access, but hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, community-based health clinics won't be able to provide assistance.
Rural hospitals?
Rural hospitals in particular are at great risk. And in fact, people who have private insurance, once you attack the healthcare ecosystem, premiums, copays, and deductibles for tens of millions of others are going to go up. And so it's a big problem. It's an immoral thing that just took place on the floor of the House of Representatives.
Yeah. And by the way, MAGA kept saying that it was illegal aliens that were going to be kicked out. Explain to folks that there's not 17 million illegal aliens that are receiving free Medicaid.
Actually, federal law, to your point, Anna, explicitly prohibits federal dollars from being used to provide health care to undocumented immigrants. Yeah. And so that was always a lie. But we're dealing with some folks where facts don't matter, hypocrisy is not a constraint to their behavior, and people actually have concluded that shamelessness is a superpower. And so our view is we just have to aggressively push back with righteous intensity, continue to press on, as I indicated, as John Lewis would always inspire us to do, speak up, show up, stand up, so we can get the type of America that this country deserves.
But at the same time that it cuts SNAP benefit and it cuts health care for the neediest amongst us, it sets aside $170 billion for ICE mass deportation efforts, a bigger budget than the FBI and federal prison system combined. And last week we saw the administration opened a new migrant detention center in my home state of Florida. They're calling it Alligator Alcatraz. And we've also seen military-style ICE raids throughout cities in this country. People are being imprisoned and deported and disappeared and taken away by masked men without any due process. And the worst part is, my community in particular, Latinos, are being racially profiled and targeted. Communities and families are being torn apart.
In terms of the deportation situation, one, we have to, of course, secure the border. We have a broken immigration system. We need to fix it. We should fix it in a bipartisan and comprehensive way. But we should also never abandon the fact that, yes, we are a nation anchored in the rule of law. We are also a nation of immigrants. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. It's one of the great strengths of the United States of America. We should not abandon it. And so as House Democrats, our view is that while we, work on making sure the border can remain secure, while we work to fix our broken immigration system, we also are going to stand up for dreamers, for farm workers, and for law-abiding immigrant families at all times.
So someone needs to tell Hakeem Jeffries that law-abiding immigrants does not include anyone who snuck into this country illegally, all right? Because right off the bat, they have broken federal law. If they did it the right way, then they would have nothing to fear from President Donald Trump or ICE or being deported or anything like that. But at the very beginning of this segment, you'll notice that Hakeem Jeffries lets the cat out of the bag because he says that healthcare is a human right. And that, of course, is the mantra for people who want a single-payer system, government-funded healthcare, okay? Your tax dollars paying for everything everyone's health care across the entire United States. And we already provide Medicare and Medicaid for people who are too old or too poor to get their own health care. But apparently that government-run program isn't good enough for Hakeem Jeffries. We have to have a bigger and better one, right? So if one isn't effective, why not double down on it? But of course, what they say there is also incorrect, that, oh, the big, beautiful bill is going to kick illegal immigrants off of the Medicare rolls, right? But they're not supposed to be there in the first place. It's actually illegal. Then why don't you support it? The simple fact is that, yes, federal tax dollars actually are going towards the Medicare and Medicaid program. So this is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and they're going to be cracking down on states that are actually giving out federal funds to illegal immigrants because, yes, it is illegal to do this, but guess what? It's also happening. Case in point, we have California, right? They have their own Medi-Cal system set up, and guess who's being enrolled on that? A whole bunch of illegal immigrants. And as soon as Donald Trump said, hey, we are cutting off federal funding for these states that put illegal immigrants on their healthcare rolls, all of a sudden Gavin Newsom has a huge 180, a big change of heart, and says, we're going to stop enrolling illegal immigrants into our healthcare systems because guess what? A lot of these systems are mostly funded by federal dollars. Over here, you can see that 62% of Medi-Cal's program comes from federal money, and they were using that program to put illegal immigrants on the Medicare and Medicaid rolls. So therefore, of course, we have illegal immigrants receiving federal dollars to get health care, something that is illegal, but yet seems to happen anyway. So we, of course, want to point that out to the ladies over here on The View and Hakeem Jeffries, because apparently they just don't know. And then, of course, we can talk about the SNAP benefits. Okay, all that's happening here is people who are able-bodied and young are going to be required to work 20 hours a week to continue getting their benefits. Okay, that's it. Something that actually was very popular under Bill Clinton. Okay, he started the work requirement. But of course, modern Democrats are going to run away from anything that is even remotely sensible. But then, of course, we're going to talk about, rural communities are not going to get their health care. There's a carve out in this bill of over $50 billion to make sure that rural communities are taken care of. So, of course, that one goes out the window. Then, of course, we have to talk about the ICE funding, right? ICE is getting a huge boon right now because we have 20 million plus illegal immigrants that came into this country, and we have to track them down and get them out of here. And honestly, we have to get this done within the next 3.5 years, because if we don't have another Republican elected in 2028, then of course the floodgates could be reopened like it was under Joe Biden. However, of course, what Hakeem Jeffries also says is, this should be a bipartisan effort. We need to fix the border. We need to fix our broken immigration system. It seems like Donald Trump already fixed it without extra legislation. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to have a lot of the things he's doing actually enshrined into law, but what it really comes down to is the will of the president, the will of the person in power to actually stop this lawlessness, to actually close down the border and say, guess what? It's no longer a free ride or a free ticket to anyone to get into this country. But Ana Navarro is going to come out and fearmonger again and say, ICE is actually just randomly rounding up Latinos without any due process and making them disappear. No, the due process for illegal immigrants is understanding who they are, where they are, getting that court order for deportation, and then collecting them and then deporting them. They don't get a trial by jury. If it's proven they're here illegally, they can't provide documentation, etc., guess what? They're gone, and that's the way it should work, and that's the way it is working now that we have someone who actually cares about the border. So all of the scare tactics are not going to work anymore. And yes, as I mentioned at the very beginning, there's a whole bunch of stuff in this bill I don't like, but the funding, the tax cuts, the wall, the good far outweighs the bad. And if the Democrats are this upset about it, then it's got to be a good thing. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description, where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.